Ode to the West Wind by Percy Shelley. This is a husband of Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein. Percy was a very famous writer in his own right. This one is his most famous piece, well, my opinion, but you know, that's just my opinion. But it's called Ode to the West Wind. You may or may not have heard of it. In college, if you take literature courses, you'll hear the name Shelley, and you probably will need to know that Ode to the West Wind was his thing. You know, an ode, we've heard about, you know, apostrophes are when you're directing something, but an ode is something you write specifically for somebody. It's different from an apostrophe. Okay, apostrophe is just discussing something with somebody or something, not expecting a reply. An ode is an ode to the west wind, where I'm going to focus on the nature and the nature element that is wind. Okay, and what it does, and the beauty, and how it transports people, you know, different things like that.
Ode to the West Wind by Percy Bysshe Shelley. O wild west wind, thou breath of autumn's being, thou from whose unseen presence the leaves dead are driven, like ghosts from an enchanter fleeing. Yellow and black and pale and hectic red, pestilence-stricken multitudes, O thou who chariotest to their dark wintry bed. The winged seeds, where they lie cold and low, each like a corpse within its grave, until thine azure sister of the spring shall blow her clarion o'er the dreaming earth, and fill, driving sweet buds like flocks to feed in air, with living hues and odors plain and hill. Wild spirit, which art moving everywhere, destroyer and preserver, hear, O hear. Thou on whose stream, mid the steep sky's commotion, loose clouds like earth's decaying leaves are shed, shook from the tangled boughs of heaven and ocean. Angels of rain and lightning there are spread on the blue surface of thine airy surge, like the bright hair uplifted from the head of some fierce Maenad, even from the dim verge of the horizon to the zenith's height, the locks of the approaching storm, thou dirge of the dying year, to which this closing night will be the dome of a vast sepulchre, vaulted with all thy congregated might, of vapors from whose solid atmosphere black rain and fire and hail will burst. O hear! Thou who didst waken from his summer dreams, the blue Mediterranean where he lay, lulled by the coil of his crystalline streams, beside a pumice isle in Baiae's bay, and saw in sleep old palaces and towers quivering within the waves' intenser day, all overgrown with azure moss and flowers, so sweet the sense faints picturing them. Thou for whose path the Atlantic's level powers cleave themselves into chasms, while far below the sea blooms and the oozy woods which wear the sapless foliage of the ocean know thy voice, and suddenly grow gray with fear, and tremble and despoil themselves. O hear! If I were a dead leaf, thou mightest bear. If I were a swift cloud to fly with thee, a wave to pant beneath thy power and share the impulse of thy strength, only less free than thou, O uncontrollable! If even I were as in my boyhood, and could be the comrade of thy wanderings over heaven, as then when to outstrip thy skyey speed scarce seemed a vision, I would ne'er have striven, as thus with thee in prayer in my sore need. O lift me as a wave, a leaf, a cloud, I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed. A heavy weight of hours has chained and bowed one too like thee, tameless and swift and proud. Make me thy lyre, even as the forest is. What if my leaves are falling like its own? The tumult of thy mighty harmonies will take from both a deep, autumnal tone. Sweet though in sadness, be thou, spirit fierce, my spirit. Be thou me, impetuous one. Drive my dead thoughts over the universe, like withered leaves to quicken a new birth, and by the incantation of this verse, scatter, as from an unextinguished hearth, ashes and sparks, my words among mankind, be through my lips to unawakened earth, the trumpet of a prophecy. O wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind?
Ode to the West Wind. This man loves his wind, if you couldn't figure that out. Okay? I think later towards the end, that last page reads a little bit easier. And you could see him wanting to almost be connected with the wind because he has such strong feelings about it. It's just something that an individual can sit there and just think about something, and something so normal as wind. But think about it on a different level. Where did it come from? Where did it originate? Is it cyclical, like this wind, this breeze that goes by me? It goes on a path, and will it recirculate back to me again in a certain amount of time? Does it ever die? Because we have those days where there is no wind. Well, where did it go? Why do we have wind? We have windmills. There must be wind all the time. You start to think of things on different levels, and you may or may not get a deeper or fonder appreciation for something as simple as the wind. Okay? There's a movie called American Beauty. It was the best picture. I think it was 99, I believe, the Oscar. And one of the high school students that's in the movie, he likes to videotape stuff. Just stuff. He's portrayed as being kind of weird. Like he just has, his room is full of cassette tapes of stuff that he's recorded. He'll record just a dead bird and just let it record for minutes. Not that he finds death interesting, but there is something interesting about that, and he goes on about it. But one of the most famous portions of that movie is he is on a playground, something, and the wind has picked up this plastic bag like you would get at a grocery store. And it's just blowing in the air. And then there's a voiceover going, and he's talking about how beautiful it is. Because there's a nice music playing, and this thing is just dancing, and then it comes down, and then it picks back up and spins. And you've probably all seen garbage or litter doing the same thing. Like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to run over that cup. No, it danced out of the way before it got to me. Something like that. But it's really a cool scene where he just talks about beauty in the world. And it reminds me, or actually reading this reminds me, maybe it's because of the wind, reminds me of that particular moment in the movie when he goes on about this bag. And to watch it, because they end up watching it in silence, and it really is one of the most beautiful moments of the movie. But how silly. Oh, it's just wind and a trash blowing around. Yeah, but if you think about it differently and think of it not as a bag and trash, you think of it as something else, it just dances. And it's just really a neat movie if you get a chance to watch it. Not appropriate for school viewing, but to each his own. Certain phrases and lines in here that just kind of step out. Wild spirit, right at the bottom of that first part, which art moving everywhere, destroyer and preserver, here, oh, here. And then, I'm going to present an ode to you. And just a lot of description here and there, a lot of imagery, okay, that, should pop out to you from time to time. But the fourth part, let's look at that. Let's focus on that. If I were a dead leaf, thou mightst bear. If I were a swift cloud, to fly with thee, a wave to pant beneath thy power and share. So these are ways that, he wants to, experience the wind. Let me be a leaf, and just spin down the street. I remember at my old house a couple years ago, it was really windy in the fall, and you know how in the fall people rake their leaves to the curb, and then the city comes by and picks them up, or they should. There was just a big windstorm, and I remember just watching the wind come down, and everybody's nice piles of leaves. What do you think happened to them? Yeah, messed up. But they were all, they'd start blowing, and not just like a hairdryer to sugar or something, just blow it all over the place. But there's some swirls here and there, and some would go up in the, it was really interesting. It's not like the movie, oh, it's so beautiful. But it was really kind of neat to see, the wind and the patterns that wind takes. Because while wind is invisible, it doesn't necessarily just go in a straight line. Do you understand? There's movements and elevation, and just it's all over, and it's quite neat if you think about it. And this person obviously did. Okay. So just a lot of neat things. Being an ode, understand the difference between ode and apostrophes, and we saw this particular ode